Look at us.
Hi, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to Eye Openers. Cheers. Hi, Mike. Thanks for joining us today.
Brittany, I'm tickled silly to be here. Thank you so much.
I know I'm going to have to remember to stay on track and do the questions and do the intro, because you and I could just get going and we could just riff for hours, right?
No. That never happened. Actually, one of my last phone calls was a 15-minute qualifying call to be on a podcast, to be on this gentleman's podcast. And the 15-minute phone call was an hour and 45 minutes long.
Oh boy. So folks, you heard it here first. This is what we're in for. I told you to be a 30-minute podcast. It's actually going to be 30 hours. We're just going to see until who falls asleep.
See what happens. By Saturday, we'll see what's going on.
But all jokes aside, Mike Verret of Verret & Associates is here to deliver an unforgettable performance with yours truly to figure out what is it that makes your brand messaging consulting so interesting. What is it like to work with Mike? And really to hear about how did you get here? What are the skills that really honed it in for you? And what advice would you have for some of our amazing listeners? But before we get into all that, first, coffee.
Well, today I'm enjoying antacid liquid because it's been that kind of week. It's just been one after the other. So, but I enjoy that after my mandatory iced coffee from Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay,
so
first you have the coffee, then the antacid.
Yeah,
okay.
that was for you, Britt.
Okay.
But every morning to start my day, I have one ritual that I adhere to, and it's unwavering. From about 6:15 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., I am at the dog park with my dog. I'm not just sitting in the dog park without a dog. But every morning we go to the same Dunkin' Donuts, the drive-thru, and every morning he barks into the speaker and they say, "Okay, pull on up." And we get there and he's standing out the window. They give him ham, they give me my coffee, and we go to the dog park. So what you're seeing is the tail end of it.
That's amazing. Very cool. Yes, coffee's part of my morning ritual too. I wish my morning had as much routine in it. I have little kids, right? So in order for me to be that fun, energetic mom that's making pancakes, sometimes I do need a little eye opener myself, which is this coffee. And this is probably my last 7 stars coffee ever. If you're Providence or
goodness, I cannot believe it. What a journey
with me. Yes, and this is my last Eye Opener show in this office. There's a lot of, this is a very monumental moment, and I'm so glad you're here with me, Mike. But let's give you a proper introduction. So I searched a little bit around on your fun website, which of course gets straight to the point, which is what I love about you. Good morning, Laura. Thanks for joining us. Laura, you're going to love this. You two should totally meet. I'll do that afterwards. But I love that your website just gets right down to it. And it's hi, my name's Mike, and I can help you leverage your brand, right? Mm-hmm. And when you say, and then one day I wake up and realize that you need to make this dream a reality, right? So tell us a little bit, instead of me doing the bio, which is what I usually do on the show, I want you to give us your bio.
Sure. Well, I in about 25 years in, call it the marketing world, because I don't know whatever kind of business label you want to put on it. I like to tell people that I've done everything from concepting a new brand based on an insight to writing and starring in the commercial for it. In my career through advertising agencies, marketing firms, and ultimately I ended up at Hasbro Toys on the global brand team. I had so many different touch points, and the way I work is I remember I know enough to be dangerous about a hell of a lot of stuff because of that experience. So I got into the world of the brand world at Hasbro. And this is someone who is, understand my personality. I'm not type A. I am not an MBA grad. I'm not your prototypical corporate citizen. So imagine what was going on in my head when I'm in the first 2 years when I'm in Hasbro, working for Hasbro. I managed the Transformers brand. Now I'm 48 years old. When Transformers came out, there were no cell phones, there was no internet. 12-year-olds still played with toys. And Optimus Prime and the Autobots and Decepticons was something that I was infatuated with as a kid. So my first job getting hired by Hasbro is to manage consumer marketing for Transformers. And I'm over the moon. It was unbelievable. I got to meet Optimus Prime. His name's Peter Cullen. And we spent some amazingly funny times that are totally inappropriate for this conversation. But here's a fun fact about Optimus Prime, the voice of Optimus Prime. Peter Cullen was the voice of Eeyore. Winnie the Pooh. He is the voice of Eeyore. That was his first ever voice acting. Amazing. And then he became Optimus Prime in 1984 when the cartoon launched domestically. So, dream come true for a Transformers nerd like myself. Then I get moved on to Jurassic World, and it's all product development.
I'm going to speed you up a little bit. Tell us about you starting Verret and Associates, because
that's
we've got
what I'm getting
much
to.
more fun questions here.
I moved into this position, and I realized I hated it there because I don't like product management. But I spent a year being miserable. Then I moved on to gaming, and my job was to fly around the world all of a sudden and present Hasbro Gaming, and I was happy. So finally, when I left Hasbro in October of 18, I realized I understand an audience. That's what I'm best at. And if I can leverage that, my understanding of an audience, I can turn that into a business opportunity for myself. So I launched Verret and Associates. And now what I do is teach businesses how to talk about themselves based on my understanding of an audience and my 25 years of experience.
Amazing. Amazing. We're going to do some of that here today because I want people to see you do your thing, like live magic.
All right.
But first,
I
have a tough one for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
If we were to speak 3 years from now, what would you have accomplished that you would love to tell me about? So like pretend ring, ring, ring. Oh, Brittany, it's so good to hear from you. I'm so excited you called because I want to share with you.
I have become Tony Robbins for the common man, applying common sense and not guru approach to everything. I give people stuff that's actionable and they can do. I set them up for success. And when we talk, me and my wife are sitting in a little villa, if you call them, in Bali.
Okay. Nice.
How's that?
I love it.
All right.
But what about your dog?
Oh, he's going to Bali.
Oh, he's going to
Archie goes everywhere I do. He's my accountant. That's how I write him off.
Your accountant. Okay, so tell me about that. How the service you're providing today and getting to this Tony Robbins for the common man, and what does that mean?
Well, first of all, it's probably an asinine way to express where I would love to be, but
honestly, in front of an audience, doing your energetic thing, getting excited about life.
It's my happy place, but I don't want to be on a big stage in front of people. I like doing this. I like talking to people like this and talking to them about their business. The hardest thing in the world to do is talk about your own business. And I get such a personal reward out of seeing when it clicks for that business. They can't see it. It's forest for the trees kind of stuff. When they see it through their consumers' eyes, the revelation is unreal. And to put it in perspective, I've actually had people cry on the phone when we realize this is what you have to say, and they just feel so relieved. So I understand the importance of that, because if you can't discern what that 2% is that you have to say to your audience to engage them, you're not going to stand out. So my business is about three things: being first, best, or different. And I know that 99.9% is not first or best, but every single business can come across as different to their consumer. So a very simple illustration of that, Brittany, all of us have written a resume, okay? And we spend a lot of time cataloging and pointing out our accomplishments, where we've been, how long, what we did to validate we're right for that job. But what if I told you that that employer only reads the resume for 7 to 9 seconds?
Oh my gosh.
Fundamentally, the only thing they can consume is one sentence and maybe a few words, which means if they don't connect with the first sentence on your resume, you wasted all that time because they're never going to see it. If they connect, they read on. So you saw on my website, how do you get your audience to say, tell me more? That's what I do. I show businesses how to talk about themselves. From their audience's perspective, it's going to get them to say, tell me more. And then everything that they do from there, however they market it, however they sell it, if it's a billboard on the highway, is always that one thing, and they become remembered for it.
Amazing. Okay. So what do you see in your business as that the greatest opportunity to create this, right? So we talked about your 3-year vision, right? You being the Tony Robbins here. kind of.
I was doing that for effect. I have no interest in being Tony Robbins.
Do you have a second eye opener going here? Did we switch straight
I
to
had
B?
to switch to Car Zero. I ran out of coffee. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. You're prepared though. What is, what is the opportunity you're looking at? Because everybody, right, if you have a business, then you have a brand and you should have a message.
Yeah.
What is the opportunity you're looking at in bringing clients to yourself?
Well, I force myself to look at it almost like if you picture a line graph, time over money, okay, however you want to look at it. I think when a lot of people start thinking about the vision of where they want to go, that graph looks like a straight line like this, all right? So when we set our vision, it's where we want to go, but we're thinking in straight line. I think in terms of parabolas and stepping stones to get there, okay? So to put it in perspective, if I want to be in Bali for 6 weeks working there just because I can and can afford it 3 years from now, me and my wife, 6 weeks in Bali sounds ridiculous. If I want to get there, I have to make some decisions about those stepping stones. So my approach is I need to talk to the right people. I need to provide them with the right guidance all the time. But most importantly, for a business, I need to cut my time down, so efficiency, and elevate my pricing. So in other words, if I can work with someone for $3,000 and do it in 4 weeks, I want to get to $6,000 in 2 weeks, because then I can set them up and knock them down. And I have a process that lets me get there while building the belief of what I can do. Then the opportunity becomes better because the more people who understand what I do, I differentiate myself, the bigger the fish. So that's how I see the vision for what I'm doing from a business perspective. And from a marketing perspective, it's simple. I love helping people. I offer a free 30-minute call and I tell them there's no strings attached. It's a fun conversation and that's it. But I focus on LinkedIn for content and communication. I focus on one-to-one, like with you and me, having coffee for connection. And I focus on doing this type of stuff for amplification. And if I could stay true to that, I don't see why I can't. Business efficiency and marketing consistency, message consistency, I don't see why I can't be in Bali in 3 years.
I love it. I can't wait to get that phone call. Let's make it happen. So
tell me, 4, I'll just fly you out there.
Okay, I love it. That's kind of like what Tony does. I think he has like an island in the South Pacific, and then they do retreats that we're going to go to Mike's Island. I love it.
Shit, maybe I do want to be Tony Robbins.
It's okay. Don't be ashamed of it. Just embrace it. Bring it in. Own it.
We all need context for our aspirations. It can't exist in a vacuum.
Well, for what it's worth, it gave us like a really great visual to work with, right? In this conversation. So this is essentially what you do, right?
Exactly.
So tell me about, you gave me a little preview into your resume, right? Or your CV. What are the skills that, or strategy, that got you to where you are today? What do you think were some of these important things that you learned along the way that maybe you weren't expecting?
Okay, so first of all, my master's degree is in common sense and human nature. I managed a bar for 2 years after I graduated college. And a bartender's job is to understand the perspective of the person who's on the other side of the bar. Okay, so I have a natural tendency to do that anyway, but I had to flex that muscle. So when I came into the business world, I had sort of established I know what my personality is, and it's unwavering. You told me at the beginning of this to shut up. You're not the first person who's told me to shut up at the beginning of something like this. So I understood what my personality was. But the pivot point for me was understanding that either as a person or as a brand, you only have 2 assets. One is a fixed, constant, and it's your personality. You can't change it. You are who you are before you got here. That's a Jay-Z quote, roughly.
Jay-Z quote.
Yeah. I like hip hop too. There's something, and I have 150 pairs of sneakers. But you are who you are. You cannot change that. My son, when he was 1, he wouldn't eat his food. We held out a cookie. He went, put his hand out, wanted the reward. Type A personality from birth. Can't change it, and he still is. He's 13. The other side of that is the only thing you can control, but it's 100% variable, is your attitude. And if you understand that life is 10% what happens and 90% how you react to it, And the only thing that you have control over is that 90%. You start to use that as a tool in your message, and it starts to project your message in the way that your audience needs to hear it. So if you think about connecting with your audience in the right way gets their attention, directing them through the information in a way that they understand it, not you, and projecting to them how your personality and attitude work to their benefit, that's the architecture of what a message needs to deliver.
That's a great breakdown. So I see this a lot, working with entrepreneurs or even executives. They sometimes struggle to stay in that audience mindset. So if it's the entrepreneur, like they struggle to see that customer mindset sometimes, or just why they buy from the marketing perspective, like what makes them different, what makes them special. They struggle to see that. Or sometimes a manager or executive struggles to see the employee's perspective, like when they're creating a policy or, doing some work on a team. How can we get better at this? What tool do you use? What tip do you have about, how do we stay in that mindset? How do we get there?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of forces at work when that's going on. And it's not just business forces. There are a lot of human nature forces at work there. If you told me I was promoted to VP, there's a certain amount of pride and braggadocio and ownership of I'm up here. But it also makes you think about yourself on, I'm VP now. What are other people thinking? So inherently, the way this because of what you do by trade, but inherently, they're taking that projection of what they think VP means, and it forces them to always think about, okay, how's this going to look? The only people that it matters to how it's going to look is the actual audience, right? So I'll give you an example. If I asked you to write about yourself in the most positive and flowing terms you can possibly muster, and then you send it to me, I would write what I see. I'd correct it, edit it, and send it back to you. I'd sit here and watch you blush and go, oh my God, that's not right. That is not right. Because we cannot see ourselves from the outside. That's the problem with businesses, right? They can't see what the audience needs to know because they need everything 100% to be working. And it's like a to-do list. I have to market. I have to say this. When an entrepreneur or a leadership, somebody's out of followship into leadership. How's that for? I just made that up now.
Love it.
When they move from there, they're following someone and they are the audience. All of a sudden, they become the leader. It automatically makes them think about themselves. It's human nature only. So the only way to break that is the constant reinforcement of only the people who are talking to you matter. So if I ask you to talk about yourself glowingly, and I ask 20 other people, I'm going to get one answer that's very different from 19. But it's all based on the audience's perspective. What they need to do is take a step back. It's almost like an out-of-body experience. What are they thinking? It's like trying to solve a crime. Put yourself in the criminal's shoes. What would he do next? Where would he go? Would he hide under this dumpster? No, he went up that fire escape. That's what he would do, not what I would do. If your clients who you talk to every day can shift from what I would do to what he would do, their lives would be infinitely easier.
Really great point. So first and foremost, it's inherently difficult because we are only us, right? And we live from our lenses, our perspective. But if we ask those questions, we can get closer to it. So what kind of breakthroughs or insights have you had along the way in your business journey, both like in corporate or in your small business, has changed the way that you see this approach, right? Like what are those pivotal moments and insights?
So two things. One, I told you I sort of had the blinders on, was not happy in my final days at Hasbro. Like I wasn't in the right place. Okay. Getting out of that and seeing, like, I was looking for a job at either another brand or an ad agency. But when I was not at Hasbro, all of a sudden I could do whatever I wanted. Okay. So there was a certain level of permission and freedom. Like the chains have been broken in my mind. That's what happened. To the point, Brittany, where 24 hours after I got let go as a corporate reduction. And I hugged the VP when she called me into her office. 24 hours later, my 15-year-old daughter at the time said, Dad, you know what? You're a nicer person now. And I'm like, holy shit. Think about the impact that I was having even on my family because I couldn't see how miserable I was. Mm-hmm. So that was huge. But what led me to start this is an experiment I did in Hasbro. I wanted to start testing my theories on attitude and how to use it like a weapon, use it as a projection tool, like a drone strike. So I would take advantage of the most common interaction in the office place that every single person can understand. You walk by somebody in the hallway, you go, hi, how are you? Tight smile, almost feel bad about doing it. It's a social utility. I'm just going to work, right? You don't even answer. You're like, hey, how are you? And you just keep walking. Social function. So I said, it's time to start. How do we disrupt the regular? How do we differentiate? Woman is coming down the hall. I'm going this way. Her name's Nikki. She says, hi, Mike, how are you? Nikki, I couldn't be better if there were two of me. I am having the best day. How are you doing? And her reaction was this. I wish I could feel like that today. Good to see you. And she walks away and I look over my shoulder and she's walking like this. The next day, and it's almost the same time, Nikki and me. Hi, Mike, how you doing? Head down, almost don't stop walking. Honestly, a rough one, Nikki. I hope you're doing better. You just keep walking. And I look over my shoulder and what's she doing? Looks over her shoulder at me. Her shoulders are down and she's like this. I had a physical effect on a human being simply by choosing how to execute my attitudinal range in that moment. And that was revealing because I can apply that to any audience. I can make them feel what they need to feel by focusing on what's important to them and making it theirs. That's the key to all of it. And I'll give you an example. If I ask you and everyone who's listening, think of Santa Monica Pier, Santa Monica Beach in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. Every single person on this call is right now thinking of a postcard image of that place. If I say, everyone on this call, think of a beach, not one person is in the same place, and every person is in a place that's incredibly important to them because they experienced it. Mm. So I've just made it by taking out Santa Monica Pier or Santa Monica Beach. Think of a beach. I've completely connected them to the idea. And if the next thing out of my mouth is, you know, that day on the beach when you got that sunburn, this umbrella would have helped you. Remember how uncomfortable that was? Mm. Sunburn and getting the sand off of you. If you just had this umbrella, that wouldn't happen. You should think about that next time. Mm. That's it. That's how it works. I learn everything from the movies, Brittany. And the thing that informed me on this is the movie Inception with Leo DiCaprio. Yeah. And in the movie, they say that an idea is more contagious than any virus and more addictive than any drug, because once someone makes an idea their own, they can't get rid of it. There's no detox. There's no flu shot. You can't get rid of it. So if I can connect you to an idea that's personal to you, that's important to you, that you can connect to, you're never going to forget it. Mm. That's the way to create a business message.
I love that.
Same way.
Wow. So could we play a little game?
Please. This is my favorite part of these things.
And thanks to Laura, she's dropping some great comments. I don't know if you can see them, Mike, but just
Brittany, I'm staring at this little hole on my iPad with all of my might, trying not to look at you. I'm trying to make it look like the audience.
Well, anyway, to the audience who's here sticking with us. So I want to make myself really vulnerable and allow you to poke some holes in my messaging.
Okay.
And see what you can create, right? Just because I promised this to the audience, I think it's the best way to like really show that magic. I mean, you just, sold us an umbrella, but I'm ready to buy more. So
let's see what happens then.
So I have this going on in my business where I have some incredibly amazing, loyal clients that stick with me for a long time. So, and when I get somebody on the phone, and I also have, I do a lengthy consultation process so people can really get the feeling of what it's like to be in coaching with me, to be in relationship with me. And I have a pretty high conversion rate at that. at the point where I do a consultation.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a disconnect in some of my messaging to really, to create that impact, that idea that working with me could change the way that they approach their life, their business, and really create like a clarity of direction. But there's it's more than that. It's like the felt sense. Have you ever heard that saying before? Like really being seen, that
Yeah.
sense, like really like super connected, like, oh, this person gets me, but at the same time, there's like a challenge in it. Like I see them, I validate them, and at the same time, I push them to the very edge of their comfort zone for their growth.
Yep. So give me your avatar of your favorite client that you work with, you feel successful. Who is it? What do they do? What do they want to do?
Oh, they've been in business for a while, grinding. They know how to make money. I usually am working with 7 and 8 figure businesses.
Okay.
They have teams. So about maybe like a team of 15. If I'm
They're in growth then.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay,
And they've been
good.
for a little while. But there's like a plateau that's maybe happening in growth, or maybe a boredom a little bit for the entrepreneur. I define it as an inflection point. I think that there's an inflection point that's happening where they their role has transitioned greatly from being the service provider, like the amazing technician at whatever work it is, and now to being really this manager, CEO. But I'm trying to teach them to be more of a visionary.
Okay, ready? You ready?
Yes.
All right, good. You've said a few things here. First of all, the nature of your business and even the questions you're asking me are designed to be thought-provoking and get people out of their comfort zone, which I hate that term, by the way, because I'd never want to be outside of my comfort zone. I'll think outside the box. I'm not outside of my comfort zone. That was Hasbro. Okay? So I know that about what you do already, just because you and I know each other and you've explained your business to me. So I have an intimate knowledge of what you do. But if I'm stepping back based on 3 things that you just said, 3 words that you just said, they're entrepreneurs. They don't stop the hustle. The fact that they went from technician who grew this tech company to managing it, they're bored as hell. You're right. That's the exact problem. And what happens when they get bored? They sell the company and start a new one. I think our friend Eric Robichaud would absolutely support this theory. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if that is the mind state of my entrepreneur, what are you going to do next to push yourself? You're bored. You're getting fidgety. The idleness is the devil's workshop. How do we capitalize on that idle time to set you up to get to that next level? That's what I would do.
I love it.
You focus on boredom, restlessness, and the fact that your client, the perfect person, your audience, doesn't want to be in management. They want to create. Keep the creation going.
Keep the creation going. I love it.
Think of it in those terms. I'm not giving you the actual copy, just the idea.
No. This is amazing. I would have never played with the boredom because.
Well, the challenge is you're thinking about the services and what you can do for them. But in talking to me just now, and I bet if I read on your website about 3 paragraphs down, it starts to talk about entrepreneurs getting restless. I bet you it's in there somewhere on your website. I would find something like that. Mm-hmm. That's your top thought. It's just buried somewhere else because you're thinking about it in the perspective of what you provide. But in their point of need, they need that 7-second story, the top of the resume. What are they going through? I'll tell you a story. We had a cabin in the Berkshires out western Massachusetts. It's a tiny little cabin. And it was when I was a kid, like 11. The closest hardware store is half an hour away. And anytime something went wrong with the house, it was like the dad in A Christmas Story when the furnace was on. So he would, God damn it, Mike, the roof is leaking. We got to go to the hardware store. So it's a 25-minute drive, 25 back, let's assume 15 at the store. Call it an hour round trip. Yeah. 10 minutes in, he sees a billboard. And it's a caricature like this way of a guy sitting in a chair like this, like a cartoon, looking up like this with this face on and water dripping on his head. And next to it, on the other 2/3 of the billboard, it said, "Roof leaking, call us now." 1 minute further up the road, there was a mobile station with a payphone. Pulls over, drops a dime, calls them, goes home. 25 minutes round trip. Totally done. He stopped worrying about it. The guys showed up and fixed it. We got life back to normal. He intersected with exactly what he needed to hear at his point of motivation. And that is what you're capitalizing on. You're not capitalizing on what you can do for them. You're capitalizing on how they're feeling in that moment. And my trick is you focus on the insight and the solution, but how do you get them in the door? So when people read my profile, they say, "Oh, I love your elevator pitch. You show businesses how to talk about themselves. Buckle up." That's the first floor of my elevator, because I bring you through that story about the umbrella. I bring you through that as my elevator. It's about how high up they'll go. I want them to push the penthouse every time. But if I could do that, that's my message every single time. And I say it to the right people. If I'm going to sell hot dogs, I sell them at a baseball park. I don't go to a soccer game. They eat hot dogs at a baseball park. So all of my clients, I tell them, here's the 3 things that you have to do to drive this. And that's it. Like I told you, for me, LinkedIn, connection, guest. That's it. Every single day I live it and breathe it. And I never, ever stop thinking about what would my audience say about this. If you can ask yourself that question and answer it, your messaging starts to get a lot clearer. But if you are capitalizing on the boredom and restlessness of entrepreneurs who aren't used to sitting still, that's who you're talking to, and that's what you tell them right up front.
I love it. I'm writing like all these little words down because
you know this is recorded, right? You don't have to write it
I like
down.
to have well, let me tell you.
Oh, I'm about to get a style course here.
That writing it down actually solidifies it better to memory. So I'm going to start using this immediately. I want to remember this, like in those moments when people ask me, because I'm about to, be in a setting where I'm meeting new people a lot. And
Well, so my style is I have to go back and rewatch and then write down, because if I'm talking to someone and I take my mind off of it, I told you, I'm not going to remember 75% of what I said on this call. But afterwards, when I go back, first of all, I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? Why did I say that? But then I can go back and get what's important without the perspective of I'm in the moment. And it just gives me a little bit of a breather. That's why I have to do it that way. But same reason, write it down and you remember. Same principle. I'm with you.
Okay. I have some fun things to ask you now. Desert Island, 2 items. What do you
2
bring?
items. All right. One would be my dog, but that's cheating. The other one would be the album "It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back" by Public Enemy.
Oh,
those are the 2 things I bring. But I would have to have that in a device. I can't extend to 3. So allow me the permission to say a CD player from 1996 with enough batteries to last and that CD in it. Those are the 2 things I'd be happy with.
Okay. We won't tell your wife, but all right.
Oh man, I didn't know that was an option. I thought I was stuck there and like I didn't.
It's all right. We're moving on. We're moving on.
Trying to find me, right? Am I going to be stuck there forever?
Best purchase under $100.
Best purchase under $100 is, and I have about 8 of them, the shirt I'm wearing. This is a $17 sun shirt that I have in about 8 different colors and fits the way I represent my brand perfectly.
Okay. I love it. Right when you find something that works, just get 8 of them.
If it works, don't fix it.
Yeah. And then lastly, how can people find you so that you can help them with their messaging because you're a rock star?
The easiest way to find me is to hop right on LinkedIn and search Mike Verret. The other way to find me is to visit my website, Verret and Associates, not the ampersand, but the word and, verretandassociates.com. And you can figure out a little bit more about me there. Maybe get, if you want it, more into a glimpse of how my mind works. And there's a green button for a free, I'm supposed to say complimentary, I guess, because that sounds better to a consumer. A free 30-minute phone call, just click the green button. And all my motivation is to just talk to people about their business. Like, if I can talk to you about what you do on a call like this, why wouldn't I do that for a half hour with other people? So I make it as easy as
Or
possible.
an hour and 45 minutes, who knows what
Yeah, that's right. But my one brand promise is I will not be boring. That's it. That's the only thing I can tell people.
Well, thank you so much for joining. Good morning.
I'll leave the antacid over there. Brittany, I have been so excited for you to ask me to be on, because I've loved to watch what you've been doing with this program. And the challenge that you put to people is that you do push them outside of the box when it comes to their own mind. And I think there's a ton of value in that. Just the practice of getting people to think that way is fantastic. So thanks for having me on and let me be a part of it.
Of course. And I knew you wouldn't be boring. So that's why we had you. you delivered.
It's been a long week. I'm a little bit all over the place.
Well, thank you to our audience. Thank you for those watching even after the live. Leave your comments. I'm going to make sure your ways to contact Mike are in the comments as well. Reach out to us if you have any questions, or you want to find that edge yourself, or find that not boring way to talk about your business. Until next time, have a wonderful Friday and chat with you guys later. Mike, stay on with me, but have a great weekend, everyone.